Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first live Crete show, a weekly Monday night show, all dedicated to the island of Crete. And whilst we wait for a few people to come on with us and come live, I just wanted to say how important it is for you to get involved. This is not about me sitting here chatting away. It's about you guys getting involved, saying hi, making comments. Let's have a debate about the current situation tonight. And obviously, we're living in unprecedented times for our generation. And like me, I guess a lot of you aren't in Crete. I'm not in Crete. I'm in my loft in the UK, as you can probably see behind me. I should have been in Crete, but I'm not for obvious reasons at the minute. So I thought we'd make this first show about that subject and about your thoughts and your feelings about going to Crete this year in 2020, wherever in the world you may be. Please get involved. Tell me, are you going this year? Are you planning to go? Have you got a booking this year to go to Crete this year? What has your holiday company said about that? Is it still ongoing, or have you had some information? Please get involved and let me know. Helen, good evening to you. Watching from North Wales. You say you've been visiting Agia Marina since 2001. Helen, did you have a booking for this year? Have you got a booking to go this year? What's happened with that? Yeah, please do get involved. Say hi, and obviously tell me what's going on with your trip to Crete this year. So just before I came on, I had a little bit of a dig about. This is just to be clear, everybody. This is not a public information film this evening. I'm not going to give you lots of information that you don't know already. But for those of us like me and many others out there that live in the UK, the current guidelines from the Foreign Office remain that all non-essential travel overseas is not advised by the Foreign Office, and direct flights currently between Greece and the UK remain suspended. So right now, the only way to get to Crete is to go via another country, I believe. Which is not only costly, but probably require an overnight stay, and also causes some complications, I would think, just from getting from A to B. Internal flights and internal ferries in Greece itself have recommenced. So it is possible now to fly from Athens, for example, to Heraklion or Ioannina, but they are reduced services. And obviously, again, the UK Foreign Office is not advising that, and I'm certainly not advocating it either. I'm just giving you the situation as it stands. Peter, good evening to you. Thanks for joining me. Tell me what your plans were, or what your plans are this year for Crete. Are you going? Let me know what your thoughts are. Helen, you're telling me that your hotel was booked and flight with Jet2. You can change it to 2021, but I'm holding off until mid-July. Not sure if I want to risk flying. And I will get onto that subject at some point this evening during the show about flying. And tell me how you feel about that. Tell me if you feel comfortable getting on a plane this year, whether that's something that concerns you. Is it something that's going to put you off from travelling down to Crete this year? The actual act of using airports and sitting in close proximity with others potentially on a plane. Tell me what you think about that. Tell me your thoughts. Jane, good evening to you. You're saying you had a booking for May and refunded another September the 1st, fingers crossed. Well, Jane, I hope for you that comes off. Tell me how you feel about getting on the plane, Jane. Are you happy with that situation? Currently, as I understand it, there are no specific guidelines at the minute for actual air travel per se, as in where people can and can't sit. How many people are allowed on a flight, how much capacity a plane is allowed to take currently. So let me know what your thoughts are on that. Alwina, I hope you pronounced your name right, Alwina. You're watching from North Wales. You've been going to Agos Nikolai since 2007. going to come then next September. Is that September 2020 or 2021, Alwina? Tell me when you're going and when your plans are. Francis, evening to you. You're saying May trip cancelled, but booked for next May. Francis, that's fantastic. Did the holiday company allow you to switch your holiday dates over without any fees? Let me know what happened. Jerry, evening to you. You're due to fly in early September. Thanks for joining me. Really appreciated. Did you have to move your trip from early in the year to later? Let me know. Julie, good evening to you. You're praying to go on June the 12th with TWI. We'll be there in a heartbeat. No issues getting on the plane. Well, Julie, good for you. June the 12th close, as I understand the regulations. And let me just flush those out again a little bit more, just to talk about those a little bit more as they stand currently. As I understand it, flights will be allowed to resume in June, but it's still unclear at the minute, by and large, as in that is direct flights from the UK to Greece. But it's not clear at the minute exactly when, and I'm not sure if airlines are actually currently scheduling or bringing out new schedules of flights right now, or whether they're waiting for more guidance on it. It all seems a little bit grey, that part of it at the minute. When you actually get to Greece itself, the current guidelines are that taxis are only permitted to take 2 passengers, and in cars, private cars, the driver can only take 2 passengers with them as well. So if you've got a hire car and there's a few of you going, that could cause a complication as well. And then, of course, we've got the current guidelines announced by Boris Johnson in the UK fairly recently about returning to the UK from wherever you might go overseas, which is, I think, the only countries that appears to admit is Ireland and France. And that is when you return, you need to then quarantine yourself and all other travellers for 2 weeks. So that then turns your 2-week holiday in the sun currently into a month, because then you can't work for a further 2 weeks because you've got to stay at home and quarantine you and the rest of your party. Peter, you're saying book flights and hotel for September from UK, worried about 14-day quarantine and return to UK. Yeah, just mentioned that. And that's the current guidelines from the UK government. So that's going to add currently, Peter, unless that changes between now and then, another 2 weeks to your time off of work. I don't know if you can take that time off, but I know from my perspective, I certainly wouldn't be able to do that. So that's going to scupper my plans all the time while that quarantine rule sits in place. Pauline, sadly, has put me off flying to Crete this year. Would love to come over, see mainly what happens over the next 2 months. Yeah, and of course, Pauline, this is a fluctuating situation in that right now the guidelines are what they are, but depending on the level of infection rate, both in this country and in obviously down in Greece, this could be a fluctuating situation that could change almost month on month. So whilst these are the rules now, if we see a calming of the level of infection and subsequent illness, then we might see a relaxing in the rules, and that would free up obviously us more to travel freely without having to have such a long time away from our work in the process. Mandy, good evening to you. Thanks for joining me. You're saying, when can people fly to Crete from the UK safely? Well, there's a question, Mandy. The rules, as I understand it, is from a legislation or a legality or a law point of view that flights will start to resume at some point in June. There's, I don't know how many there'll be at that point, but then they'll, I'm guessing, ramp up with the Greek authorities talking about a kind of July, August, September, October for 3.5, 4 month season this year. So whilst the option will probably be there by the look of it to fly to Crete, the safely part of your conundrum, Mandy, is an unknown quantity to us all, in that we don't know what the regulations are, or if there are going to be any regulations, or whether these planes are just going to be full to the rafters and everyone will have a mask on and hope they don't catch anything whilst travelling. Who knows? Peter, you're saying booked last year for 2020. Okay, fine. Thanks for just filling me in with that one. Elizabeth, good evening to you. Thanks for joining us. You're saying, should have woke up there this morning, rebooked for next April at no extra cost. In fact, was £40 less. Okay, good news for you, despite the fact, obviously, you're missing out on what is currently some hot weather down there in Crete at the minute. A lot of the locals heading for the beach and probably enjoying having the beach to themselves this year, at least for a while. Happy and sad. Wait to keep yourself and the lovely people of Crete safe. Yeah, and man, Elizabeth, sorry, that's another valid point. Obviously, in whilst I guess all of us that love the island so much are absolutely eager and keen to get down there as soon as we possibly and safely can. There's a double-edged sword to that as well, I guess, in that are we inevitably, between us, going to take inadvertently the illness with us, and as we know, Greece was very quick to shut down their borders and go into what was a really quite strict lockdown, which as a result of has worked really well for them and kept the level of infection and subsequent fatality extremely low in comparison to the likes of the UK and other countries in Northern Europe. As of today, cases in the whole of Greece are 2,834 with 163 deaths. And when you compare that to some of the other countries, it really is tiny. And Crete, as a proportion of that, has been a very small proportion of that, with very, very low numbers of infection and only a handful of fatalities. Being an island, obviously, with the travel being suspended in and out of the island for that period of time, it has been a safe haven for a lot of Cretans during that period of time. And the anomaly becomes now, for obvious reasons, because, you know, as we all know, Greece and obviously Crete needs tourism. It's a very, very vital and important part of its economy. And as they start to relax the rules and they start to welcome the likes of you and me back down to the island to visit and have a holiday, is that then going to cause a problem with the virus itself then coming in larger numbers into the wider population? And should we be responsible for being part of that? Is that right? Is that wrong? You tell me. You comment and you tell me what you think in that situation. I know there's been some chat from the Greek tourism minister about some kind of rules before we're allowed to travel there, in that you might have to have a test, a coronavirus COVID-19 test within 72 hours of your travel date, and then take that document with you. And I believe, as I understand it, as you arrive, those documents, I think as you depart and arrive, those documents will be examined to make sure you've had a valid test and that you're not active with the virus when you arrive in the country. But is that 100% accurate? Some people say that the tests that are used are only 60% accurate in themselves. So it's all very much up in the air, and I'd love to hear your thoughts tonight about all of this and what you're thinking, and whether you're thinking it's safe, it's not safe, whether it's right or wrong for us to be currently visiting the island and having a holiday. Michelle, good evening to you. You're saying you booked for mid-June from Belgium with SNBXL Airlines, and also mid-August. We've put all our hope on August. Well, as it stands, it looks like August is fine if you're comfortable to travel. Michelle, let's hope that we don't, as Europe, I mean, not just the UK, but as all of Europe now slowly relaxes these lockdown rules that we've all been living under for so long. Let's hope that doesn't cause a rise in infection and then cause a situation where what looks like the shoots of hope for the future to be dashed. Roger, evening to you. You're saying book flight to Crete July the 4th and hoping it will happen, but hard to know still. Yeah, well, you're after the period when it's permitted both by the Greek and the UK authorities. So in theory, Roger, you should be all right at the minute, as long as you're happy to travel. Eleni, good evening to you. You're saying we have some very hot days, but the sea is lovely in Crete. Yeah, all of us, I'm sure, that aren't there are imagining the Cretan Sea and the lovely sunny weather at the minute with envy. So thanks for letting us know. Kinga, good evening to you. Thanks for joining us this evening. Continue to get your comments in. Say hi. Tell me when you were booked to go, if you're booked to go, what your thoughts are, whether you think are you comfortable with going now, and the flight and the whole travel scenario that you'll be faced with in order to get there. Kinga says should be in Crete at the minute. Definitely will book holiday this year, but don't have to stay in quarantine. There is no quarantine, as I understand it, once the rules are relaxed when you get to Crete. In that once you get there, you won't be asked to go and quarantine for any period of time. The Greek tourism minister did talk about having active self-distancing rules in place in hotels, beaches, cafes, bars, restaurants, etc. And I think that will be the case. So it's not going to be the normal holiday that we're all used to. But at the same time as that, the opportunity to go, if you're comfortable to travel, I'm sure most would absolutely love to do. Maro, I hope you pronounce your name right. Thanks for joining us this evening. You're saying you're afraid to be on a plane due to the virus. I plan to go to Crete on September, but we'll see what happens till then. Well, and I think this is a challenge, and it's not just the plane, really, is it? It's the airport. Airports generally, and I think if ever any of you, I'm sure most of you, or a large proportion of you, have been to Crete before. If ever you've traversed through Heraklion Airport, especially in high season, you will know what a bun fight and how crowded and packed that is all the way through from front to back. It's not the it's not the biggest building in the world, and when there's lots of international flights bringing holidaymakers in and out of the island, then social distancing there is going to be a real challenge. And obviously, in the UK airports, if they do get busier as the summer comes in and people start heading all over Europe for a break, then I would imagine that will be a challenge as well. And then, of course, then there's the plane. So, and we don't really still understand exactly what that's going to be like. So, it's one of those that I guess some people will be happy to take the opportunity to use, and others will be thinking, I'm not so sure if that's something I want to put my family through. But it's everybody's personal call, I guess. Patrick, evening to you. You're saying you're due to fly from Dublin via Athens mid-August with the Aegean Airlines. The Aegean's a great airline, Patrick, as I'm sure you know, very hospitable and friendly, the Greek national carrier. And of course, the transition through Athens is always fairly simple because they usually transfer your bags for you and whatever. But yeah, that'll be 3 airports for you each way, Patrick. So that's going to be quite an adventure in the current circumstances, I'd suggest. Tim, evening to you. Thanks for joining us this evening. Continue to get your comments in. Let's have a good debate about this evening and see where people are. You're saying booked in Stalis back end of July 2020. Just waiting to see what the government in both countries will allow us. I wouldn't be able to do 14 days isolation after my holiday as I'm due back for work 7 days later. Yeah, Tim, a lot of people are going to be in that same boat. And that is the current UK government guidelines in that if you come back from anywhere abroad, apart from, for some reason, France and Ireland, as I understand, having had a look at the guidelines before I came live tonight, you've got to quarantine yourself and all of your party for 14 days. There are further guidelines or further advisories, should I say, to that aspect of travelling abroad, and they are that you are advised on return not to use public transport and to get, if you can, a member of your own household to collect you from wherever you arrive back into the country, so generally from Crete, obviously an airport, and then immediately go home and quarantine. So they're the rest of the Foreign Office's current guidelines on what you should do when you return currently from overseas, apart from 2 countries. Jan, evening to you. You're saying you've got a car hire booked on arrival. As I understand it, the current guidelines for private cars, I assume that includes hire cars, is it's the driver and 2 passengers as a maximum. Obviously, that might change as we get closer to Greece and Crete opening up properly for business, tourism business that is. Sue, evening to you. You're saying I'm booked July 2020 and I'm happy to get on a flight. Good for you, Sue. Go and enjoy yourself. Feels safer than going to work in hospital. Well, Sue, obviously, massive thanks for all you do working in hospital. And yeah, of course, it remains to be seen how that's going to work out. Obviously, the likes of Wizz Air are talking about direct flights to Crete and Greece fairly soon. Ryanair, Michael O'Leary, the CEO of Ryanair, had quite a lot to say for himself today about that. They're going to ramp their schedule up through July to try and recover some turnover and some passenger fares from the current situation for the rest of the summer season all over Europe. Michael O'Leary called Boris Johnson and the British government's post-travel quarantine rules absurd and ridiculous. Of course, you know, for Michael O'Leary, it's going to deter people to travel if they've got to take an extra 2 weeks of work to then quarantine themselves. So he's going to be dead set against that because it's going to deter a lot of people from getting on his planes and going all over Europe. But yeah, the rules are there for a reason, and currently for a right reason. And whilst obviously Greece and Crete is currently a low risk destination to go to, in that, as I said earlier on, the level of cases down in Greece and Crete has been very small in comparison to the likes of the UK, France, Germany, Italy, etc., etc. Yeah, how long? I mean, I don't know how long what will happen with that once the tourist season gets into full flow. I sincerely hope it doesn't cause them any further problem. But yeah, there's still that close proximity either way with people from a relative place to yourself on the plane, and obviously been in contact with a relative level of infection level in our or whatever country you're travelling from. Julie, evening to you. I'm lucky re-quarantine as working from home for foreseeable future. All else fails, we'll transfer the holiday to 2021. But at least if you've got the ability to work from home, then obviously during your quarantine you can carry on working, and there's an option. And I guess if you are someone that's fortunate enough to be able to ply your trade from home, then the quarantine won't really, apart from the fact that obviously you'll be stuck indoors for a further 2 weeks after your return, cause any problem other than a lot of window gazing and wishing you could leave the house probably for a couple of weeks. Gez, evening to you. Thanks for joining us this evening. Much appreciated on this first live Crete show this evening. Due to come to Crete July 2020, fingers crossed. Yeah, as things stand, I think that's all systems go for the time being, unless something changes between now and then. It looks like through June, things are slowly going to start to unravel and wind up and open up. And then after that, through July, I think both Greece and a lot of other countries around the Mediterranean are hoping to be in as full a swing of a summer season as they can possibly make for everybody this year, albeit with safety and social distancing rules in place to get there. Tim, you're saying there was a hint tonight that the British government are willing to let people coming back from countries with not much infection skip the post 14-day isolation. Yes, I read that as well, Tim, but I don't think that's been confirmed yet. I think there's just a bit of paper talk and maybe a little bit of I don't know if it's a leak from the government of something they're talking about. I think this is a fluid situation at the minute, and as things unravel down through the back end of May into June, I'm guessing as flights start to become available, there'll be some more clear guidelines on that put in place. But as it stands right now, if you're coming back in, it's 14 days in quarantine for yourself at home without leaving your house. Jane, you're saying you'll fly if you're allowed. Good for you. If you're comfortable to do it. Would you wear a mask, Jane? Let me know if that's something you consider as being. I know in the UK, masks and gloves are something that they're issuing as you hand your your ticket to go actually when you first enter security. So after arrivals, when you first go through that security process, as you enter at that bit where they ask you to take your liquids out of your bag if you've got any, etc., etc. At that point, there's masks and gloves available, which you're encouraged then to put on for the duration until you get off the plane, as I understand it. It's not mandatory, I believe it's advisory, from what I understand. Paul, you're saying, and good evening to you, Paul, sorry, thanks for joining us tonight on this first live Crete show. Obviously, had plans to do these live shows on a weekly basis, and I will be doing these live shows every Monday night, so I really appreciate your company and appreciate you joining me. I plan to do a good few of these from Crete, but obviously with the current situation, I'm not sure, unfortunately, how often that will be able to happen, but we'll see. Paul, you're saying, do the Crete people actually want us there this year? Big question, Paul. Big question. And I'd imagine, and I've got a lot of, obviously, I personally am fortunate enough to own a property in Crete, so it's somewhere that I've been going for a long time, and I do have, I'm fortunate enough also to have quite a few friends down there. And I think, I'm not going to speak from, but from what I've spoke to people down there, and from what I understand of that, that's a double-edged sword for the people down there, because their industry is so reliant on that summer season. So much of their financial situation relies on the influx of people coming down for holidays every year, and the lack of that in their economy is going to have a massive impact on their lives. So from that point of view, obviously they're eager for there to be some sort of season this year, but I think they're also eager for that season only to occur when it's safe to do so. And I think currently the Greek government are doing their absolute level best. I mean, let's be honest. I think most of us would agree that the Greek government have done a cracking job of dealing with this pandemic so far. But like all countries, Paul, there comes a point, much as in the UK and Germany and France and Spain and all the other countries that have had quite a significant level of infection, where you get to the point where you've got to start to release things up gently, because you can't just carry on sitting on your hands from an economic point of view. And I think the Greeks are very much in that same boat like everybody else now, in that they dearly love for us all to get down there and come and spend our holidays there. But at the same time as that, they don't want their families or friends at risk from this virus. So it's a very difficult one, and let's hope that the Greek government find a way through this, what is quite a dense and thorny forest of decisions to make, that allows them to have what will be a shorter season, a sort of 3.5, maybe 4 month season at most, that will then afford them some opportunity to do some business, but not put themselves at significant risk. Jan, you're saying, I have to go, left my suitcase with our owner of apartment, LOL. Well, there's a good excuse, Jan, to get yourself down there and go and get your suitcase back, if nothing else. And yeah, let's hope you're reunited with that this year, and it's still in one piece and still full of its contents. Anna, evening to you. Thanks ever so much for joining us. You're saying, Paul, they're looking forward to all tourists. You're replying to Paul's question about if people actually want us here. Yeah, I think they are. I'd agree with that, Anna, but I think they also would only want that if it's practically safe for them to do. I don't think there's any ambition there to create significant risk for them, their families, and their friends. Peter, you're saying if we can still fly, we'll be there. Good for you, Peter. Pleased to hear that. Pleased to hear that you want to get down there and enjoy yourself. Please do so safely. Joe, good evening to you. You're saying, so can the Irish travel to Crete? Well, Joe, I live in the UK. Like I say, I've got a place in Crete, so it's somewhere I spend a fair bit of time. But I have to say, I'm not fully versed with the rules of the Irish government currently for your travel. So I would strongly advise you to look at the Irish government website and seek some advice on there, because that is ultimately where the definitive answers will be. And whilst Crete itself will be open for business moving down through the back end of June, through June into July. I'm not sure what the rules are about Irish people going overseas for leisure purposes. Helen, good evening to you. Thanks ever so much for joining. You're saying I've been staying at the same hotel for a number of years. If we decide not to go in September, I'll offer to pay for next year's accommodation this year to help her get through the winter. And this, sorry to stop reading your post for a second, Helen, but you just jogged my memory. This is something that not just Crete, but lots of places are talking about, in that they're faced potentially in the worst case scenario with a triple winter situation, in that they've just had a winter, and obviously Crete summer season generally runs from sort of mid-May until end of October. So it's a seasonal summer season destination. So the winter largely in Crete is without tourists, albeit there's a few around. By and large, in comparison to the summer, it's very, very small. Most hotels and seasonal places like seasonal bars and restaurants and what have you close up for the winter, and summer holiday resorts retract back to what is more of a traditional village for the winter. And most people live off of their summer profits for the winter, and then look forward to the summer again to do business. Without a season this year, we'll end up with winter, and then another winter, because there's no summer, as in there is a summer. And I'm sure the Cretans will enjoy the beaches to themselves. But apart from that, is for the large group of people there that rely on tourism as to provide them jobs and to pump money into their business. That'll be another winter, and then of course there's a winter after. I know there'd been some talk, and it wasn't official talk, so this is kind of off the cuff, this comment, but I know there was some talk about having a winter season at one point in Greece, in that rather than having a summer season, if it wasn't possible, then maybe having a season starting October, November, and having a sort of later in the year season. But I've not heard anything about that for a while, and it's a worry. It's a worry for the Greek people and the Cretan people that rely so much on that influx of tourists to bring their hard-earned money with them, and obviously spend it while they're down there on holiday. So it's a great thought, Helen. Just going back to your comment, what you're saying there about keeping that booking and then moving it rather than cancelling it and asking for a refund. And I'm sure the hotel that you stay at will be hugely appreciative of that, because that allows obviously that money to remain with them, and it allows them and helps them to keep going, as it were. And yeah, it's a thought, and it's something that I guess if those of you that do not book a package holiday with a large tour operator and book your own flights, and then either stay in the same hotel with people that have almost become friends to you or are friends to you now, and you go every year, or you've booked independently with a local hotel, with the owner of the hotel, keeping that booking and moving that booking until a time and date you can go, and allowing them to keep that money is obviously going to help them, and going to help them see themselves through what is a difficult time for them as well. Sorry, Helen, just to carry on, you say, I will also ask our favourite restaurant. I was invited and flew to the owner's wedding in November last year. Well, fantastic, Helen, for you. I hope you enjoyed that. If I could pay them, say, €200 in advance for some meals in 2021, sort of gift voucher. We must help these beautiful people survive. Well, that's a fantastic gesture, Helen, and congratulations to you. And yeah, it's great, and what a great idea to help try and support the local economy in what is a really difficult time for everybody down there. Joe, you're saying book for August, hope to go. Fantastic. I hope you get to go, Joe. Good luck with that. Alan, evening to you, Alan. You're saying hoping to come in August by ferry via France and Italy. Currently, just to drop that in, this is current rules. Ferries between Italy and Greece are not running. The border between Italy and Greece is currently closed, as is the border between Greece, Albania, North Macedonia and Turkey. So the north border and the eastern border are all closed at the minute for obvious reasons. I believe there is plans to relax that again as we go through this June, early July period. That will get relaxed, but currently it's a non-runner, so don't try and currently book that way. And also, it's advised against both by the Foreign Office and by numerous governments that the driving route is something that you shouldn't try and take. Because you will get almost certainly challenged on your way down through that route as to where you're going and what you're doing, and probably be turned back. So yeah, don't try that at the minute. But yeah, in August, Alan, you should be good, and good luck with that. And I hope you enjoy it. And let's hope that that we can all have better and more settled and clearer times in August, and get on a plane or a ferry, whatever it might be, with some confidence. Ferries in Greece currently, just to add in while I'm just remembering bits and bobs as we're going through this, are masks mandatory. They're also reduced service, so the frequency of service has been reduced at the minute. And there's also reduced capacity on internal Greek ferries, so Piraeus to Hania or Heraklion, for example. The frequency of ferries is reduced, and the capacity that each ferry takes has also been reduced to allow distancing between people on that mode of travel. Jane, even to you, you're saying thanks for the update. Again, Jane, like I say, I'm by no means a public health or some kind of official public speech or whatever. It's just the information that I'm aware of, and I just thought it'd be nice tonight on this first live Crete show just to have a debate and have a chat and see what everybody was thinking about going this year. George, even to you, George, thanks for joining us. Personally, deeply sceptical despite fully paid up for flights. George, give me some more information. When are you going? When are you booked for? Whereabouts are you staying? Let's just get a bit more information, George, and maybe let's talk that one through. But I fully understand and respect your scepticism at the minute, because obviously Matt Hancock, I think, went on the television not so long ago and was kind of hinting at obviously this is in the UK, so sorry for those of you that don't live there, but was hinting at suggesting people kind of forgot about their summer holiday this year, which I thought was a little bit pessimistic, given the fact that the government here in the UK seems so eager to encourage us now to go to work and start to repatriate garden centres and DIY stores and the rest of it. Yeah, he was a bit pessimistic about it, but I don't know. We'll see. Francis, even to you as well. Thanks for joining us. Much appreciated. Thanks for your company, and thanks to everybody who's joining this evening. We'll try and do a different subject each week as we do these shows. Let's hope we get an opportunity later down the line when we're doing these shows later into summer to actually do something Crete, and also do some on some more optimistic and happy subjects than the current one we're talking about. But it is obviously right now the obvious one, and is the one that everybody is thinking about. If you've got a trip booked or you're thinking about booking a trip this year, this is obviously the big hot topic for us all. I'm sure a lot of you that are watching tonight are regular travellers to Crete and have a spot you go to each year and love the island very much, and are all upset and sad about maybe not being able to fulfil that sort of annual or biannual or whatever it might be trip to your favourite place this year. But what to say? There's so many things at the minute that we're struggling with, but let's keep optimistic. George, you're saying guidance apart from this is a gamble with a disease that can be a killer. I know of 5 people who have died. Well, George, firstly, I'm sorry to hear about that. There are, obviously, some people there that have sadly passed away. Yes, likewise to you, George. I know of people that have had this illness. Fortunately, they haven't passed away, but it's certainly not pleasant. Even in its milder sense, it's not something that you particularly want to endure. And I don't think, George, that there'd be anybody, including me tonight, that would want to do anything that either put themselves or anybody else around them at significant risk. of ever catching this awful illness. George is saying also you feel safe in Crete. It's just getting their aircon on the plane, question mark. Well, George, aircon on the plane. The airlines will tell you that the aircon or the filtration systems, as they call them, on a plane have very fine HEPA filters within them that recycle and refresh the air within the cabin every 4 or 5 minutes. So the airlines will tell you that anything or anyone that might be on that plane exhaling anything that you're concerned about inhaling would be sucked up through those filters, filtered out within 4 or 5 minutes. And there is some talk, as I understand it, and again, don't hold me to this, this is only talk about planes not offering drinks and food services because they suggest that the air stewards or the air hostesses, or whichever phrase you want to use, flight attendants is probably the right one to use, are the main risk on the plane, because that person then handles people's money, hands people's drinks, etc., and comes into contact with the majority of the plane. So as they go down the plane, they could then come into contact with someone, and then you would then have hand-to-hand or money-to-hand contact with them. So they're suggesting that that's a bad idea, and they're also suggesting prohibiting anyone from getting out of their seat during the flight, apart from to use the toilet. So no walkies on the plane to stretch your legs. These are only talked about potential hypotheticals, and obviously for the likes of us that live in Northern Europe, a plane flight to Crete is somewhere in the region of between 4, maybe 4.5, down to 3.5 hours. It's quite a bit of time to be sitting on in an economy chair with not a lot of legroom. So that's something also worth bearing in mind this year as well, because I don't think they're going to be particularly encouraging people to take a wander, or also potentially offering you a drink or something to eat. That would be something you'd have to take yourself, and then look after yourself for the duration of the flight. Jeremy, good evening to you. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for commenting. Please continue to get your comments in. We'll carry on with the chat as long as people still want to for another, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes or so. If you want to get your comments in, then you've got 5-10 minutes to do so. So do that now if you want to, and I'll do my best to read them out. Jeremy, you're saying lost a week's holiday in April, due over for a week in mid-July, but not holding a breath for that one. Let's hope the 2 weeks in late August, September is possible. Lots of people not keen on flying, but those of us willing to just can't if we have to lock down once back home. Yes, Jeremy, indeed, a big challenge for us all, having to add it. You know, most of us who are in employment get 4 weeks holiday a year, well, 2 week holiday, and you've got 2 week quarantine, game over. Jeremy, so totally concur with you with that. Hope Greece, Crete can strike a deal with the UK, as they are very much on top of the virus. Yeah, indeed, and these governments are talking at the minute, Jeremy. There is talk going on behind the scenes. I know the Greeks have been talking to the Germans quite a lot, to the Israelis. There's not been any public declarations of conversations between the British and the Greeks, but given the fact that the British make up the largest proportion of tourism to Crete each year, I'd imagine the Greek government would be eager to strike some sort of agreement with the British government to allow what is the biggest group of tourists to the country each year to travel at some point this year. George, you're saying not true. Spain have said very unlikely to have a full season. Yeah, and I did say, George, I don't know if I said something wrong, so I apologise if I did, but the majority of Mediterranean destinations are looking for a shortened season, so somewhere between 3.5, 4.5 months, somewhere around there. July, August, September, and maybe October as well, sandwiched on the end of that, dependent on the situation as it unravels. But I think that's most of the Mediterranean, Southern European holiday spot plans for this year, to try and still afford people a holiday, and obviously still get that important part of their economy running to some degree this year. Jan, you're saying yes, masks and gloves, no problem. Yeah, good for you. And we'll see, you can take your own, or you can, as I understand it, British airports are offering them free of charge, just where you get those little plastic bags to put your liquids in. There's masks and gloves there to pick up at the same time. in most UK airports. George is saying should be mandatory masks yet. Picking up on what I said earlier, I believe it's advised and encouraged. I don't believe it's mandatory. But then a lot of what's happened in the UK when it comes to this lockdown has been advised or encouraged rather than mandatory. Peter, we could get into a very long political discussion about that, which I won't bore you with now. But yeah, that seems to be the way the British government likes to do things. Mika, evening to you. I hope you're well, and thanks for joining us. And I hope I got your name right. Keeping fingers crossed for September. Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for you as well, that you're all good to travel. Just catching up with some of your comments. Sorry if I'm lagging behind a little bit, but I'm just getting through them here. Very popular discussion tonight, as I thought it would be. This is the hot topic for all of us at the minute. Are we? How are we? Etc. Etc. How safe is it going to be? What's the experience going to be like? Do I need to sit in my house for 2 weeks afterwards? Etc. 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 George, you're saying, but however, there's a very high risk of importing multiple COVID-19 positive visitors. You should know how busy it is, and literally people from all over the world, including Sweden. Well, this is the worry, isn't it? On all sorts of levels, from a personal level as who you're sitting in close proximity to on the plane, to whether we are then importing this horrible illness into other parts of the world, causing them an infection problem that they didn't necessarily have before because they managed to keep it under wraps at the first opportunity. James, good evening to you. You're saying Yasu from Los Angeles, so Yasu to you. I hope you're well. Please give us your thoughts, give us your opinions, etc. Let us know whether you're planning to head down to Greece or Crete this year. Tricia, evening to you. Nice to see you. You're saying I was due to come in May from Germany to purchase a property. How would the quarantine work if only come for 4 days? Tricia, I don't know what the rules are from Germany, so I can't answer that question. Apart from if you're coming back into the UK from Germany, in that you're travelling from the UK to Germany, then Germany to Crete, and then Crete to Germany, then Germany to UK, that would mean you'd have to quarantine. And that would mean you'd have to quarantine if you only went for 1 day, because the rules are if you're returning to this country currently from overseas, apart from France and Ireland, you've got to quarantine yourself and everybody in your party for 14 days. Everyone's got to do it, whether it's for 1 hour, 1 week, 1 month, whatever it might be. Whether that changes going down through this pandemic, through the summer, if things get under control a bit better and the government feels more comfortable in what they're doing, is another matter. But right now, they're the rules, and that's what we've got to abide by. Sarah, evening to you. Thanks for joining. Really, really appreciated. Anyone got any more comments, anything they want to say this evening, anything they've got that they want to bring to the conversation this evening? Please do that now. Just gives me a little cheeky chance to remind you of a couple of bits. The first one is this Sunday, the 24th of May at 4:30 UK time, 5:30 Central European time, and 6:30 Greek time. We have got DJ Rotalix again live for you from Crete, from the Cretan sunset. We always time this so the sun's going down in Crete and you get the best possible vista from the opportunity to watch him. So he'll be playing a DJ set again for us all from Crete in the sun. So please join us. it's a live event on the Crete Facebook page. You can have a watch party with that as well. So if all you've got to do is go to the Crete Facebook page at 4:30 in UK time, 5:30 Central European, and 6:30 down in Greece, you'll see the live stream there from the Crete page. You can click watch party and watch it with your friends if you want, and have a bit of a remote party from home with your friends, which a lot of people did when we did this a couple of weeks back, which was a great idea, I thought. And obviously get your Bluetooth speakers out and your computers, and the weather looks fairly good, so get yourselves in the garden, have a party with us on Sunday, the 24th of May. That's this Sunday coming, and I'm sure Alessandro will really appreciate the company with that. I really appreciate joining us, and I certainly will as well. And I'll be watching from home too, with the family and enjoying the music and the view. And the view was fantastic last week. Sorry, the week before last, and really was a fantastic atmosphere. So yeah, please do join us on Sunday night for that one. We also popped up a couple of bits on the page today about the Lakos, the district of Lakos in Heraklion, and Matthew Halpin, who kindly came on and did an interview with me last week, and talked about the Lakos project and the art and murals and the regeneration of that part of Heraklion. It's a really interesting project. I popped up an article about it today on the page, so please do go and have a look at that and have a read of that and check it out. And if you're ever in Heraklion, then I'd really would recommend taking the 5-10 minute walk down to Lakos near Hania Porta, if you know it, in the walls there of the city, and checking out the art and in the square there at the Cafe Neo Lakos and having a drink and watching the world go by. It really is becoming a real nice part of the city and somewhere a little bit different to explore while you're in Crete and Heraklion. So yeah, check those out, and obviously, like I said, join us Sunday for DJ Roach Alex's live DJ set from Crete, in the sunset from Crete. You know, we can't go, but at least Alexandro can give us a little bit of a flavour, and we can have a little drink at home and look at that Cretan sunset and enjoy the music. So please do join us. We really appreciate it. Tricia, you're saying I'm into quarantine in Crete. Thank you. Quarantine in Crete right now, as I understand it, doesn't exist. So when we are allowed to travel, there will be, as I understand it, stipulations on that. So it might well be that you've got to have a test and a certificate to say you've had a test that's negative within 72 hours. With that, as I understand it, when you get to Crete, you won't have to quarantine. Right now, for UK people, it's 14-day quarantine when you return back to the UK from anywhere overseas apart from France and Ireland, and that's the rule. So I think the Greek government are intending on giving more information on this over the next few weeks. So we'll see how that flushes out, but I don't think it will be just, yeah, no problem, you know, here's my passport and, you know, come. I think there'll be some kind of stipulation to our travel along the way. I hope that helps. You know, it is a difficult time, and it's a time when nothing, unfortunately, Tricia, is 100% certain, but that's the current picture. Claire, how are you? You're saying you have your fingers crossed to come the 16th of July. Will swimming pools be open? The answer to that question, from what I read from the Greek tourism minister, is yes, they will be open with some kind of social distancing rules around the pool. So I think there'll be rules about how close sun loungers can be together and how close people can be together. But as I understand it, as it stands, I don't think there's going to be any rules about physically closing the pools themselves. And the same with beaches, in that beaches will be open, but there'll be a distancing rule in place as to how close beaches can put their sun loungers together and chairs and in cafes and bars, etc. Which is something which is a bone of contention for a lot of cafes. And I don't know if anyone saw the demonstration down in Greece and obviously in Crete as well last week, I think it was, where a lot of cafes put their chairs of their cafes out onto the pavement, onto the road, in protest at being prohibited from running their business. And it's a very difficult time. And obviously, if you've got less chairs because you've got a distance, so where normally you'd have 40 chairs, you can only have 20. That's half the amount of customers and half the amount of drinks and food you can sell, etc. So it's, you know, it becomes a massive quandary as to whether you're actually going to make any money from the situation, which is, you know, difficult. Tricia, you're saying brilliant show. Well, I really appreciate that. This is my first go at this evening, so I really appreciate you saying that. I'm not saying I've got all the right answers. I'm not even trying to sit here and be some kind of oracle. I've got a fair understanding from my own research at looking at getting down to Crete myself. So happy to share that where I can, but would always advise people to check government websites, because this information is constantly changing all the time and being updated. Helen, it's me again. Helen, you're more than welcome to comment as many times as you like. As my regular hotel was not open in April, What I have learned this year is to book with Hotel Direct. My April holiday was obviously cancelled, but Love Holidays have issued me with a refund credit voucher, which is not apt to protected. If it was protected, I would not be worried. Ryanair have issued a credit note, but as that is protected, I don't mind. My September flight with Jet2, and you can actually change the dates. Yeah, well, Helen, Ryanair have issued vouchers and not refunds. I'll put my hand up to receiving a Ryanair voucher rather than a refund for my flights to Crete that should have happened over Easter. That never did. I did actually manage to get my money back through my credit card company by filing the Section 75 form. And that is, if anyone is interested in that and wants to know the ins and outs of that, basically because Ryanair are incapable of supplying what is a service. Obviously, a flight is a means of travel, so it's a service. Because they are not able to provide that and they cancel your flights, they're prohibiting your travel by cancelling your flight, albeit they're cancelling your flight because either the country you're departing from or the country you're travelling to have permitted them to either depart or land. They're unable to provide a service, so you are under Section 75 of the Credit Act. If you've booked with a credit card, this is, by the way, entitled to file a Section 75 claim, which will then trigger a chargeback claim from the credit card company to whichever airline you book with. I think a lot of airlines, a lot of other airlines such as EasyJet, Jet2 as you're relating to, Helen, etc., have been offering the option of refund, transfer your flight to another date. With Ryanair, it was transfer or refund, and then they ended up issuing everyone with a voucher. So I've luckily, with that, got my money back, but I know a lot of people have now got a voucher. As I understand it with that Ryanair voucher as well, if you don't use it within 12 months of its issue, it would then trigger a refund. That's what the last email that I got from Ryanair said. But yeah, very fluid and very unclear. Claire, you're saying, how will big hotels social distance in the busy restaurants? Well, Claire, I'm guessing that means the restaurants won't be so busy because they'll have to socially distance people, which means they'll have to keep people at the 2 metre distance and move those tables within those restaurants to make sure no one is within that distance. I know there's been, because a lot of people go all-inclusive, and that invariably leads to buffets in that, you've got like a buffet style restaurant where you go and grab yourself a table, then go up to the buffet and fill your plate with whatever it is that takes your fancy. There's been a lot of talk about that lately, and I don't think they've actually fully got that buttoned down yet. But as I understand it, the buffet type of eating situation will continue, but with social distancing rules in place. So I'm guessing the queue will be at social distance, and then people will have to go down that at a socially distanced 2 meters or whatever it will be apart. And then how that then works with serving, I would imagine it wouldn't be self-service and someone will serve you. I don't know, but I know there's talk about that currently, and I know that they're talking about finding a way for that to work and keep everybody, including the people that work in the restaurant, safe. Jan, thanks for this. We're tuning again. Thank you, Jan. Really appreciate that. I hope I haven't babbled on too much this evening, and some of this has been of some use or some help, or this has helped you just to have a chat about this evening and get it off your chest. Claire says, does Crete have quarantine in place for holidays? Well, when Crete is open for holidays, I believe they are planning on putting safety checks in place prior to your travel, which means that when you actually arrive in Crete or anywhere else in Greece, you will already have been screened prior to arriving, so then there will be no need for quarantine. That's the plan. I guess, Claire, it would be pretty pointless us going for a 2-week holiday down in Crete if then we had to quarantine for those 2 weeks, because then we just kind of look off our balcony. And so it's got to work that way, really, hasn't it? But I don't know how they're going to make that work, and they haven't really given any direct guidance yet, as in full instruction, albeit they've hinted at maybe doing this or doing that with pre-testing or whatever. And they've not said for sure how that's going to work, but that's how it's going to work, and then you will be free then to enjoy the island and your holiday within the self-distancing and safety guidelines that will be in place when you get there. Tricia, you're saying the restaurants are not allowed to have free buffet style, but have to be served by members of staff. Yes, that's what I just alluded to. So I don't know if you were just commenting as I said that, but there will be some kind of system in place with buffets that will then mean they'll still do the buffet, but you will be served rather than picking up the tongs or the spoon and serving yourself, as I understand it. But quite how that's going to work, I'm not sure, and I don't think anyone else is just yet. Claire, you're saying thanks to you, Claire. Thanks for really getting involved today. It really shows like this when you do them on your own. There's only so long you can gab along for, so it's fantastic and vital for the success of a show like this that people like yourself, Claire, get involved and comment and give us your thoughts, because that allows us to have a two-way conversation. And this will be every Monday about you guys getting involved and joining in. Tricia, you're saying brilliant, great for me coming from Germany. No quarantine on the way back, I hope. If you're arriving in the UK from Germany, Tricia, then you will have to quarantine for 2 weeks as the current guidelines are, if you're coming back to the UK. If you're someone that lives in Germany, then you'd have to look at the local German government rules for returning from overseas, but that's the rules here in this country. Paul, getting the sun cream at the ready. Paul, I wish I was with you, getting the factor 50 out as well, but there we go, not for me currently. Let's hope I'll get a chance later in the year at some point. Helen's saying I get a daily email from GTP which gives me information about the Greek government policies, etc., and travel restrictions, which may be of use to some others here. Yeah, sure, Helen, that's useful. So Helen's saying she gets an email from the Greek government, I assume that is, or tourism board, is it, Helen? Give us a bit more information. But yeah, if you can get an email update, then that'll help everybody who's got a holiday booked. So yeah, please share that information and comment where we can find that, so we can all get a piece of that and help us as this information evolves over the next few weeks. Tricia says, if this is in English, yes, please, I'll get some info, but it's in Greek. Okay, thank you very much, Tricia, much appreciated. And Paul, lastly, and this will be the last one of the night, because I've been going on for an hour now, so I think that's enough for you all, I'm sure. Paul's saying, I want to travel to Crete ASAP. Sorry, I just lost your comment now. I want to travel to Crete ASAP. Do I need a test in UK before I travel, or will I be tested at the airport? Good question, Paul. They are going to put some regulations and rules in place leading up to Crete and Greece opening for tourism business. Paul, there has been some hinting at pre-testing before 72 hours before you go, to then allow you to be free to enjoy your holiday when you get there without any restrictions. It's not been fully explained as of yet, and we're still waiting to find out what those rules are going to be. But from what the Greek tourist minister is saying, there will be some stipulations on being able to visit Crete and Greece this summer. And that's it for me, I think. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been of some help for you this evening. I thank you all for joining me. I'm just going to do another cheeky reminder about Sunday. Please join us on Sunday for Alessandro's live DJ set. He puts a lot of effort and work into it, and does it from the good of his heart. So to try and give us that little bit of a slice of Crete at home. So please join us 4:30 p.m. This country Sunday for that live DJ set from that Cretan sunset. Thanks ever so much for joining us this evening. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. We'll do this on a Monday every week, and maybe next week, if things have changed or evolved, we'll talk about this again. But yeah, this has been the Crete Show Live, and I really appreciate you joining me. And let's hope we all get a chance to visit Crete at some point in the near future. Take care, stay safe, and look after yourselves. That's it for me. Bye-bye.